Welcome to the Reinvent You Show. I'm George.
I'm Azlan. It's about seeing everyday challenges
Differently.
I have a very interesting topic I want to talk about today. It's to do with work. So at work, I've been given this impossible task of understanding the entire supply chain and figuring out where AI can be leveraged to provide value to the business. Now, I have no clue whatsoever, and I've mapped out there's about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm looking at the screen now. There's about 10 different touch points, you know. And the first thing I want to do was panic. So then I thought about coping mechanisms. Okay, we've been given this impossible task by management to figure out the entire business in 2 weeks. The first thing we as a team felt was, wow, this is overwhelming. There is no way we're going to do this because we're all working in our separate silos, separate teams.
Oh, so this is not about unreasonable timelines. This is about the way things are structured to be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
How do you get there?
How do you get there?
Okay.
And we were just pulled together as a team from different areas of the business to say, this is your challenge, guys, figure it out. So we have, not only do we need to build our relationships internally within the team to figure out who's good at what, but now it's to understand the entire business. So there's an internal thing that we have to figure out, and there's an external thing we have to figure out. And we've been working together for 4 weeks, so we sort of understand where our strengths are. But when it comes to the external business, it was really difficult. And yeah, when I came out of that meeting yesterday, I was in a state of panic. Like I have to present this back to the board in about 2 weeks, and I was panicking. So the thing that I thought about was coping mechanisms, and I wanted to retreat and panic. And then I looked up what are the different types of coping mechanisms. There's healthy,
The brown paper bag.
yeah, all alcohol, and so there's healthy and unhealthy, right? And I went through each one, and there was like problem solving. Is one of them, where you look at the data, you look at the problem, you come up with a plan. Bang, that's how you cope. Then there is meaning. So probably someone like you who tries to find meaning in, like, if in the scenario and go, okay, how can I frame this? And some people use that to go back to religion. Like, how can I frame this? Like basically reframing it to come, to figure out what the meaning is. And then there is unhealthy ones like avoidance, like defense mechanisms, where you use alcohol to numb, just to forget, but it doesn't really address the problem. It just kicks the can down the road.
It's very anxiety inducing because the time is ticking and you're not doing anything.
And it gets worse and worse. And then there is, what other ones there are? The social. So essentially talking to your friends about it, talking to a therapist and getting help that way. And then I figured a different one. I came up with a different one, which is imagination. So it was really weird. I said, okay, what would happen if in 2 weeks everything goes well? What is the ideal magic wand scenario?
Hang on a minute. That's called a fantasy right now, but keep going.
It is. But
imagination can make it real by reimagining the situation.
Right. So I sat down and I said, okay, what if everything went well? People come up to me and say, Azlan, well done. You guys did the impossible. Good on you, mate. You did the best that you could, and this is an amazing outcome. And then I just felt the feeling of, wow, yeah, this is good. And then I thought to myself, why would I be in a position where I have a lot of stress when the outcome is going to be the same. You've got 2 weeks, you've time boxed. One is you can feel stressed in that whole 2 weeks. On the other one is I don't know if you delude yourself, like delulu, they call it, the Gen Zs, but deluding yourself into thinking that everything's going to work out fine and just focus on the next step. Like every day I promised myself I was going to do one thing to progress this.
The only things in your control.
In my control, yes.
Like understanding the problems.
Yeah. So one thing I worked on was, okay, I need to figure out who the stakeholders are for each of these each of these processes. Let me have a chat with them first. And that's as far as I can go for now because I don't know the problems in that space, in this particular space.
But there are problems.
I know there are problems. Yeah.
And by asking them to bring those problems, you could ask them to bring the problems formatted in a particular way so that they're detailed enough for AI to traction. You see, it's one thing to say, bring me your problems. It's another thing of bring me the problems where, what is that? What is that gap between leveraging what AI does
Mhm.
and where the legacy structures are in procedures and processes. You see, that's part of the problem.
Right.
Because there's a journey from A to B, and what you want to do is you want to understand A relative to B.
Right. So in that context.
So you got to be clearer on B. And so what is it about B? So you start with a high level. So what is the high level when you look at the graph that you just showed me before? That whole timeline of touch points where AI is relevant, could be relevant. You see, like what is the nature from that high level of each touch point from where you can look at menial tasks, look at
Human errors, inefficiencies.
Yeah.
And then from there we go.
And then what you do is you give each one a high level brief for them to contextualize.
What is it? What do you mean?
So if you give them from your division, can you look at, and then you give them all the areas to look at, but you guide them enough so that they bring to you enough problem detail. Because remember, one of the principles in that 8-step process is if you understand the problem, the solutions are easy. So your job is forget about the solutions now. Don't worry, just understand the problems. But you can't understand the problems without understanding the power of AI and what its principles are so that you can give those problems a context. So in other words, what is the problem? Well, the problem is inefficiency. The problem is a lack of leveraging current intelligence that's automated. You see, like this is the problem. The problem is that there's no leverage of current technology that allows things to be more consistent, more dependable, and mitigate error. So all you got to do is look, well, okay, that's enough. But is there a second context for each touch point that I can add for that person? So I'm doing my best in the possibilities. See, live in the possibilities initially because you don't know. You're fact finding. So you go, can you look at these possibilities of what the problems are and why and bring them to me? Because then I believe once you do that part, then you can complete the circle around a brainstorm on each touch point on the ideas that were contextualized enough, with enough granular detail to just have an expanded list of ideas for each one. And then from there, you're able to
thread it.
Yeah, not consolidate down, like throw acid on the ideas, consolidate down to the pure ideas that stayed, right? And then from there, you go, all right, well, we chose those ideas from the acid because resource-wise, leveraging where we are, leveraging where we want to go, first phase, because this is the first phase, second phase, third phase, right? This is not we've arrived. This is what do we do first? What other ideas do we save for later after we've created this first foundation? There's a whole world there of what you're doing is it's change management, but it's structural. It's yes, humans are involved in that, and change management for humans is going to play a role, but you are literally restructuring into a new structure and alignment of processes that leverages AI. So what you want to do is you want to go, well, what is a nice, commercially sound, incremental shift towards that? You're going to end up phasing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So when you brainstorm, you distill it down to first phase, second phase, third phase, and then the other stuff that just has to be revisited because it's a bit pie in the sky, interesting, needs a better relook for later. So what you'll notice is all of that is process. You're facilitating a process.
Yeah.
You're not putting everything on your shoulders. You see, it's not for you to create the impossible. It's for you to facilitate into the possible that previously felt impossible.
Ooh, that's a good.
Because isn't that really what's always happening?
Yeah.
You know how our perception is so fallible? It's like we're always thinking things are not possible. It's like, why? Because we've got so many hidden, loaded biased assumptions that just, that strangely create rules of what we're supposed to be that isn't really realistic or necessary. So, you know what would be really interesting? Understanding why you thought it was impossible.
Because, okay, this is why I think it was impossible. Number one, I work in a different section of the business where we're siloed. All we have to do is do this one thing, right? But now I have to understand the actual, be on the ground sort of person, understanding it from start to finish. So if you think about building a building, right? I used to be the guy in IT where I would go, oh, okay, these are the computers that you need and all that. But now I have to think about, how do I build this building without any architecture experience? Just understanding the touch points, getting, what's the process from start to finish? Who are the contact points there? What are their processes and their handover points? And where I can find AI to leverage that can be used to improve the process. And it's almost like an outsider, because I have known nothing about architecture. And I have to figure out the whole process. Oh, you got to do this first. You got to submit the permit. You got to, get the building engineers in. Oh, and then you get this. So understanding the entire flow and then going, okay, where best can I leverage AI in this process? So it requires time to sit with these people and understanding every step. And then, like you said, understanding their problems. But I think one of the tricks that I don't understand is contextualizing it in terms of AI. Do I ask them? Where do you think AI can assist? Anyway, that's a separate topic. Just that time frame of 2 weeks is just, plus my day job, to me feels impossible. And I think they did that on purpose just to stretch you, because you work better when you're time boxed, right? You get more outcomes. So yeah, that's why I thought it was impossible. And yeah, does that answer your question though?
Yeah. Now, when they put that deadline to achieve that, who was asked to make sure it happens? You and who else?
The whole team, essentially.
How many of you are there?
7.
Are there any people who are critically needed to be involved?
Yes.
Who have not been told about that deadline?
No.
So each division through that whole touch point.
Oh, no, they haven't been told yet. No.
So they have to be told as soon as possible.
Correct.
With a full brief of get ready to be engaged.
That's right.
Because
stakeholder map.
Because their bosses want this by this day.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So when should that be happening?
ASAP.
Yeah.
So it's just in my brain, it's just like all these different touch points, no clue whatsoever, complete unknown. And there is that fear of, where do I go? Where, how do I do this in 2 weeks? And so now it's just breaking it down into small steps, check pea-sized meals for me to go, okay, I'm going to seek advice as well. This is the people that I want to engage with. Am I missing anyone? And then, like you said, project brief, bang. I need to talk to this person to understand this problem, and then focus on the 3 touch points where I think we're going to provide value, and then go understand their problems.
Well, maybe this podcast is, remember I said to you, why do you think it's impossible, right? It's because there is hidden philosophical rules you're living by that are unnecessary. And I think one of them is you get over-responsible.
You're right.
You immediately, energetically hook yourself into an expectation that you're supposed to have the answers.
Yes, correct. I do that all the time.
That's so unfair. Yeah. Why are you so cruel to yourself, Azlan?
I don't know.
Why? Be kind.
I do that all the time. I always take over. I mean, there's so many people in the team, but somehow I feel like this is my problem. I'm going to have to fix it. And so...
Well, look, I like your personal agency. I like the fact that it puts the fire in your belly to hyper-focus.
Yeah.
Because you do want to own something, right? But what snaps that is it deteriorates the quality of your focus, because now you're ramping up the anxiety, and then the brain then starts to be prevented from the process. So you charge yourself to own prioritizing it, and then you debilitate yourself by overcooking the assumptions that it's all on you.
So how should I operate? I don't even what's the alternative? The alternative is to share the load with the team and sit back. Is that?
Oh, see what your brain just did?
Yeah, I know. It just went the extreme.
Yeah, the other way.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So I guess the question is, what does the middle look like?
What does the middle look like?
What a lovely question.
I've never thought of that. I've always just gone in. Always.
It's like, it's all me or it should be someone else, because where's the collaboration? Where's the shared responsibility? Where's the power of synergy? You know what would make you a great leader? Holding the space to let leaders show up everywhere and champion them and let everyone know how good they are as leaders.
This is my opportunity to do that, because I'm in the midst of the best of the best. Right now, we are the best of the best in the org.
Don't compete.
Yeah, no competing.
Yep. No, what I'm saying, energetically for us, if we think we have to be a great leader to prove to them that we're good leaders too, we may find ourselves competing accidentally.
Right.
Right? Don't compete. The more they shine through you, the more you shine like a supernova.
Okay. So now I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to map it all out and get the leaders. They are leaders in the org, in my team, and get them to say, Azlan, I'll do that, because I've seen it. They inherently take ownership. I've never seen this before. Like that's how they got into this program. Is you say anything, and they're like, I'll do it.
You were sitting on Ferrari horsepower.
Yeah.
And you're pretending you're on a tricycle.
On a Yaris. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Now you flipped my brain, and I'm gonna try to bring. This is my opportunity to finally. I have the Ferrari horsepower. I have to use it. I have to.
Are you
evolve.
A driver?
No.
Or are you a cylinder? Be a driver.
Oh, be a driver.
Be a driver of the horsepower of these guys. Now they're drivers of their own horsepower.
Yeah.
But turn them on, and celebrate their power and get excited about what they bring back.
Right.
And let everyone know how good everyone is. Live there.
That's different, but I'm willing to give it a go. So now to help get to that goal, I need to structure it in a way where they can, like you said, where you can leverage, where they want to show up, but to put, these are the opportunities in this space, the concerns. What do we do? And then get them to figure it out. And then if they need help with organizing, coordination, that's my skill set. And so then I can help do all of that. Because I think that's my skill, and I want to explore it. Okay, cool. So now, and
if you ever want to know how to use AI, ask it.
Yeah. That's
if it's that intelligent, it should be able to tell you how to use it.
Yeah.
When you give it enough context of each touch point.
So this brings me to a different topic, which is the limiting beliefs that you have and the assumptions that you have. Like, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't speak to you. So you obviously operate at a different, like not at a pedestal level, but at a different level where you notice.
No. I feel like being on a pedestal today, I felt a little bit vulnerable today. I'm thinking, I need someone to push me up on a pedestal, make me feel better than them, No, you're right. Exactly. It's never a pedestal, even though we're all tempted up and down pedestals, right?
Yeah. No, but it's so interesting how you immediately knew there was a limiting belief there.
Yeah, because I believe in abundance. I believe in imagination to tap into the abundance. I believe in the synergy of teamwork. I believe in the sustainable value exchange. So for me, I already believe I'm in a playground where anything's possible as long as it's meaningful. Because anyone can conjure a meaningless fantasy just for adoration. Imagine if I could become a rocket and go to Saturn and show off. Like, anyone can come up with wild ideas, but is it really meaningful? No. Everything that's meaningful that your heart can guide you into is possible.
Meaningful to you as a person.
Yes. And that's a really good point. If you look closely at meaning, it's where you matter to people and they matter to you, where you give value to people and they give value to you, and you're both uplifted by each other. That's meaningful.
Right.
And therefore, every area of life, from, personal roles of being a dad, a partner, a brother, and then at work, colleagues, manager, every role. It's the sustainable value exchange that brings real meaning. Now, that is the foundation to every goal. And if that goal is aspirational, like can we leverage AI in lots of our touch points to help us reduce human error, reduce danger, reduce mistakes, reduce big costs and inefficiencies to make us more resilient in the marketplace. Yeah, that's meaningful because that's about a value exchange. That's about using tools so that everybody's giving a lot of value in the way they engage.
Right.
So it's meaningful. So I believe it's possible because it's meaningful.
That is so interesting because what you said before as well about how you believe you're in a playground of infinite possibilities that you can achieve. Isn't that great to live in that space? That's a great place to live.
Yeah, but I had to separate fantasy with heart-based desire.
Right.
Like anything is possible if you want a world where there's love and you care and you want people to feel amazing and you want to be amazing with them and you want to have new adventures together and you want to innovate into new ways of being. Everything is possible in that world. And I'm happy to be in that world. Not I have to get on a pedestal. I have to get on a stage. I have to be a rock star. I have to, all this stuff that I need people to love me. So how can I fantasize about being something to eventually win the adoration of the masses or the people that I wished I could feel loved by? That is not a meaningful way to be. That is the wrong world to be in. When I say everything's possible, yeah, but what if everything is possible and you don't want to believe you're good enough, then you're going to mismanage the possibilities because you're going to conjure possibilities to plug a hole that doesn't even have to be there. It's you've created the hole with wrong thinking, and now you think you're going to chase, carrots on a string, for a donkey to never reach. So a lot of people will chase money, they'll chase status and all that, and then they'll wonder why they still feel empty. Even though they're achieving those things, they still feel empty. It's like, what is this hole that I'm trying to fill? Because it seems to be big, It seems to be really, really big. And I'm sick of it. And there's this metaphor that I've been playing around with for a while. And it's to do with the fractal of stars.
Please explain.
Yeah. So a star emanates heat, intense energy, light, and it gives so much, doesn't it? A star, it matters. Our sun matters. None of us would be here without that sun. Right? Now, it gives, doesn't it? Does it receive anything? Doesn't seem to, does it? It just gives.
I don't think it needs anything does it need anything from the universe to generate the heat? No, it's internal.
Something internal is making it perpetually giving.
Yeah.
Now, of course, everything is relative because theoretically no stars last forever.
Yeah.
Right? So it's on a different cycle to our little speck of dust human life. Now, let's come down off that fractal to us. When we know we matter and we know we're capable, are we in a good mood?
Yeah, for sure.
Are we very present?
Yeah.
Can we afford the luxury of leaning in and understanding people really well?
In that frame of mind, yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
I've already established that, right? Yeah. But I know what you're thinking. Yeah, but damn, that frame of mind is hard to crack. Yeah, exactly. But the archetype of the sun, this is what I'm trying to play out, that when we are in the archetype of shining,
yes,
we're giving because we are not fighting ourselves to matter.
Yeah. Like the nuclear reactor. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You're just flowing.
Correct.
Right? Now, you're giving. Our dilemma is that in the cycle of giving, a sun is on a huge cycle of billions of years.
Yep.
We're on a cycle of seconds and minutes, right? Our cycle is that we can't be a sun of billions of years, but we can be a sun for minutes, days, weeks. In other words, we can afford to give to people without them giving back for reasonable periods of time. So we have different contexts for that. As a parent, you give a lot more to your child than they give back, right? And if anything, it's their cuteness and their development that we celebrate their wins. So maybe there's a consciousness in the sun where it celebrates the life it witnesses through its giving.
Ooh.
I never really thought of that, but it feels beautiful and meaningful to know that everything is an extension of God, the unseen universe. And therefore, why are we trying to make powerful celestial objects non-living and inanimate as if they're just things that do what they do? And then do you know what I mean? Maybe we don't have the mind to connect to their consciousness, maybe, right?
Right.
Anyway, coming back to the giving. So you give, right? And we're on a cycle. Now, what happens to a sun when it finishes its life-giving light and energy and heat?
Well, it explodes, and then everything else that depends on it dies. Is that a right assessment?
You obviously had ADHD at school and just clocked off when they were explaining what happens to suns. They turn into black holes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they explode, and then they implode, and then they becomes a black hole.
Oh, you remember now.
Yes.
You've brought it back while you were trancing out the window.
Yeah.
Well, I can relate to that. Anyway, now it's on a cycle where it gave, now it takes.
Ooh, never really thought of that.
And what does it take? Everything.
Yeah,
It gave
light.
everything.
Yeah.
Now it takes everything. It takes all the light. It takes all the heat. It takes all the mass. It takes everything. Like, damn.
Yeah. So what are you trying to get to here?
Maybe suns traumatized into black holes of taking because they're sick of giving now. Maybe they need therapy. It's a galactic therapy.
They need someone to talk to them.
Imagine black hole anonymous meetings. I've been a black hole for 37 days.
Maybe there's someone inside, Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that doesn't mean you should stop giving, though. I mean,
No, but it's a cycle.
it's a cycle.
So we have to give and receive.
yes.
So I think the black hole.
I see.
Yeah, the black hole deserves to receive because it gave for billions of years. Come on, cut it some slack, will you?
Yeah. I thought we were going somewhere really dark with that metaphor. And then,
imagine the sun gives for like 100 billion years, and then it goes, all right, friggin' my turn.
Yeah.
And then it flips and starts taking. And then Azlan shows up and goes, hey, why are you taking so much?
I thought what you're trying to say is you give until you're 50, and then from 50, you demand everything back from everyone. Your son, I gave you this education. You give it back to me in an old folks home that has, serves me caviar. But okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the cycle. You're talking more about the cycle.
Yeah, and also
Giving and
when you
receiving.
played that out, that actually happens. People do feel self-entitled, and they do give lectures of they deserve to receive now. And so what happens to us is that if we give a lot and we get to a point where we don't have any more to give, we pull back. And now, if we don't believe we're full and we have everything we need, then all of our energy is around what we can take.
Oh, I know a person like that.
So it presents as selfishness. It presents even, and so let me show you what that looks like. If you go to someone who's suffering, not feeling good enough, low self-esteem, and you share with them a great achievement, it triggers them into being incapable to be happy for you. So you feel your light does not reach them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it did reach them, but they were a black hole. It just went in, you see. Then you can be an act of kindness and they're still flat. Next act of kindness, they're still flat. They're presenting like a black hole.
Yeah.
Because they did give a lot. And society and their inability to negotiate made them collapse.
Right. I see what you're saying. So the cycle, it's not just always giving. It's also about, negotiating your worth and what you need. Like the tree analogy where you talked about, the tree takes from the ground. It doesn't negotiate with the...
Yeah, so if the sun's on 100 billion years or more,
Yeah.
What are we on? We're on different cycles based on what we're doing in the giving and receiving.
Yeah.
For example, the cycle of breath. I give carbon dioxide to plants. They give me oxygen. how long can I stay without breathing? You see, that's a very short cycle,
Right.
right? I give, but I need to receive reasonably quickly there, right?
Yes. Yes.
I can be kind to someone and give them money and give them money and give them money, but there's a cycle on limitations there too for it to only be one way.
Yeah, because the sustainable value exchange breaks there.
Are they helping? Are they washing my car? Are they, like, in other words, is there give and take?
Yeah.
Or is it just all one way? And who is it one way for? Is it a cycle of parenting? I can give for 18 years or more to my child without receiving anything. But even we know we have to train them to reciprocate, because otherwise they're not going to be good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to be careful that we don't spoil the child. But initially, we know when they're a baby, they can't give us anything.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that. There's a cycle there. Now, when we're engaging everyday people and trading, that sustainable value exchange is the giving and receiving. But if we complicate it and if we doubt our self-worth, we become a black hole, not good at negotiating because we don't even feel like we deserve.
Yes. Yes. The self-doubt stops you from believing that you are worth it, and therefore you don't negotiate as a result of it.
Yeah. So someone comes along and says, you matter. I know you can do this. And the person goes, I'm glad you see it, but I don't feel it. I don't know. So which means no one's evidence matters to you anymore. It's the light that just goes into the black hole.
Yeah, it goes flat.
Yeah. Oh, here's an idea you could use. If you use this idea, it will change your situation. It's like, yeah, for some reason, I've decided that no ideas can change my situation.
So in the previous example, if you said use AI to figure it out, I could have gone. If I thought, there's no chance, that's not going to work. And this whole thing is just full of...
Yeah. You could have created a pseudo logic around...
It's not possible.
Yeah, but AI is very... It makes mistakes and I can't afford to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
So you could have easily twisted it into a black hole experience where you just it's
done.
It's finished. It's gone into oblivion, that idea.
So to avoid being a black hole, you have to be in a mindset where you think it is possible.
Well, maybe that's the fourth domino that falls. But the first domino is I matter and I'm capable of light and heat and energy and receiving.
Capable. It's a very big word there.
Yeah. Now, here's the kicker. What happens to a black hole in the end?
I actually don't know. I need to read up on Neil Tyson, whatever that guy names. What happens to a black hole? It disappears?
It eventually becomes a supernova and births new stars.
Really?
Yeah. Why is that?
Wait, hold up. So it creates new stars, like new suns and new galaxies?
Yes.
What?
Why is that the case?
Because it took so much and now it's giving back.
It feels guilty. The guilt-averse.
The guilt-averse. Why is that?
Oh, look, I'm putting my own
spin
interpretation on it. Yeah. I think it's because when you have the full cycle of giving and receiving, you become wise to gift that opportunity for more things, to learn that opportunity. Because the fullness of a star is it gave, and boy, did it know how to give in a spectacular fashion to create life, and then it knew how to take. Damn, that thing could swallow light and mass and make everything disappear to other things in its own. But did it really disappear? No, it was in another dimension.
It's so interesting.
So a black hole, we say things go into nothing, but no, it went beyond our comprehension. It was taking everything internally, and then what was it happening?
Getting ready.
Was synthesizing the wisdom of receiving everything, and then kaboom!
I feel embarrassed that I know this. I only know this at 40 years old. How did I not know that?
You feel embarrassed? Are you feeling a bit black hole-ish?
Yeah,
right?
I'm feeling a bit black hole-ish. I really didn't know that it actually came back. I thought eventually there's going to be a bunch of black holes and we're all going to be sucked into it, all of us are going to die. There was, there's this idea that the universe is expanding and then eventually
it wants its money back.
Yeah, it wants its money back. And so then what do you call it?
Contracts. Yeah.
So I thought the black hole was one of the reasons why it's contracting, is because it's sucking everything back in and then it contracts. I didn't know black holes expand again and explode.
Yeah. So the universe is constantly expanding. And it's constantly expanding. And the cycles of expansion, contraction are a part of, because look, when a star births new stars, that's net effect, huge exponential expansion. When it took for a while, right? Did it take the same as it birthed? I don't think so. But I'm just,
right.
You know what I mean? Because we are talking about the conceptual ideas are ideas, and abundance is abundance. Like, for example, water. We go, oh, we're running out of water. Are we? Or just water's changing form and adding salt to it in the ocean, and that's not good to us. And so therefore, maybe we need to capture more water in the form without salt when it rains that cleanses it from the salt. Maybe we need to do that more. So this is not about, we know it's the same water, just like energy can't be destroyed. It just keeps changing form, right? So I believe expansion is not the material expansion. It's the conceptual expansion of the imagination of experiencing life in infinite ways. So it's about a new form of being to experience, you know? And so I think the universe expanding is just...
It's a great metaphor.
It's an imagination. It is a great metaphor, because what this means is that if you decide you matter and you look at everybody and you go, I respect the black hole dilemma of being human in me and in everyone else, it means you now are ready to give a level of leadership, authentic, loving, that births new stars, because everybody starts to experience levels of giving from you that helps them become great.
Wow, that is so profound. There is hope, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to change my view on black hole-ish people now. No, I'm serious. Because I always thought they're all
so beautiful.
I always thought, black holes, they're gone case, they're going to disappear. But then now, if with the right advice, the right people, the right influence, they can birth new stars.
Yeah.
That if that's not leadership, I don't know what is, you know?
Yeah. And so if your black hole is being triggered by other people's black hole, in other words, a competition for taking, you'll sink each other.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So the danger there, so how do you know you're ready to be a supernova? In other words, be all in on wanting people to feel their value, feel their capability, and create a platform for them to shine so brightly. You see, a supernova is not concerned with its shine. It's concerned with everyone else's shine. It no longer second guesses its value and its shine. If we can reach that, wow. Imagine what humanity would be like if we can reach a level of self-belief so that when we're giving, we're really giving. But like I said, we are works in progress. So if anything triggers us into a black hole experience, we have to honor what wisdom comes from that around where we're at in the black hole experience. So don't be in denial of the black hole in us. Don't be in denial of it, because if you are, we prolong it.
This is a good segue to an observation I made as a result of this leadership course.
Yeah.
Was, you know how in our deconstructs, we're talking about black holes now and that feeling of inadequacy or whatever that black hole feeling is.
Yeah.
I noticed, obviously you brought it to my attention as well, that I'm, when I'm doing the deconstructs, I always avoid the negative.
Yeah.
Like I will give out a big sigh. Here we go. Let's go. Just do this. Because my whole life I've been avoiding toxic people and negative thinking. Like if there was news, I haven't watched the news for 10 years. I don't go anywhere near anyone who's negative. But I do that to myself too. And this is what happens.
That's profound.
I use alcohol. So alcohol is a very complex relationship in my life. So a bottle of wine, okay? I use it, I noticed, I use it as a reward system. and as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And so it becomes an addiction, because when I'm in a good mood, everything's working out well, I get a promotion, whatever, I'm going to get that bottle of wine. It may be more expensive. I might get a $60 bottle of wine, but it's still a bottle of wine. When I feel, and then I looked at what triggers me to drink. One of it is stress, numbs the pain from work.
Yeah.
The other is a black hole feeling. So when I feel like there's negativity, I immediately pour myself a glass of wine because I'm trying to escape that negativity. So I said, okay, reward aside, let's keep that there. But let's look at this black hole thing. Why do I get so hard on myself? It's because I've not accepted that black hole as an emotion, as a valid thing in my being. It's almost like you are not part of me. What are you doing here? Get out. And then I sat down the other day at the park and I went, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to be sad. It's okay. And that changed things for me, at the park. So I went, this black hole is me, That was what's so interesting. That's why it was a good segue, because I had trouble. I've always pushed negative people away. Just don't even talk to me. I have no time for you. I've got too many things on, and I did that to myself. And so it's just projecting outside. And so now what's going to change is seeing people and myself as a black hole, accepting it.
As part of the journey, like we're undoing the black hole and we want the light to shine.
The supernova after that.
Yeah.
So now that's the missing piece of my journey. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps now. It's literally accepting the black hole as part of the phase, like the cycle, and then knowing, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a supernova. That person's going to be a supernova. And that's going to change my way of dealing with negative people. It's because there's a supernova in there somewhere. Damn. Wow. That's full circle for me. I was going to talk about that afterwards, but you've put it in that metaphor is just perfect for me. Perfect where I am right now.
See, Azlan, when we talked about fractals, and I said, like even in step 1 of EP7, why are fractals so important? Is because when you pay attention to the patterns of something, and you go, is there wisdom in other contexts of that fractal pattern? Because a proper fractal pattern is meant to be able to spin its expression into all contexts, from the micro to the macro, right?
Right.
So then we did that in this session. We just went, look at the way a star becomes a black hole and then becomes a supernova. Where are we at with our journey? And we found it, and the dots started to join. And then you saw your dots, you were joining them just then, and you were going, oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. This is activating me into a level of awareness that makes me feel different about myself and different about my existence and different about everything around me. Like this, we leveraged a fractal.
Yeah, the fractal, the pattern.
We leveraged a fractal to discover truth and wisdom and joy right under our nose all along.
Is that why you use nature? You use a lot of nature in your fractals, from the tree taking and giving, and then the universe.
Yeah.
So that's where you get your inspiration from. And that to me is foolproof. Tell you why, because it's nature. It works.
Millions of years of evolution, galaxies of evolution, celestial bodies, stars, supernovas. Like that, when you see a supernova caught in a beautiful shot, like you just stare at it and go, wow, we are less than a speck of dust in that. Like it's hard to fathom the magnitude of a supernova.
Yeah.
We're in this little Milky Way, and then you look at the supernova and you go, oh, see that little blotch there in the enormity of the supernova? That's a Milky Way.
Right.
And here we are in our own little solar system, which is a blip from a Milky Way. Like it's just the magnitude of the universe, the multiverse we're in. And we're also only talking about what visible light spectrum exposes. What about every other frequency spectrum decoded? Which means the universe is so multidimensional, you can explode into more depth in all directions, our existence. And yet here we are, less than a speck of dust, but designed with the same fractals of it all.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you have an imagination? Yes. Do you have desire? Yes. Are you aware of yourself? Yes. Do you have the free will to choose what form to move into? Yes. Interesting.
Very.
The fragment of the universe, fractal extension of the universe, is in every one of us.
Now you got me so inspired now to figure out what are the other fractals or patterns out there, like dolphins. Like surely there's something more that we can look at. Like you've only given me 2 and it's blown my mind. Like, can you imagine all the other, like you said, light, even that experiment where it shoots out, is perception.
Oh, the double slit thought experiment, quantum physics.
Yeah.
Just the act of observing changes the behavior of a subatomic particle. Does it behave like energy as a wave, or does it behave like a particle mass?
Yes.
Is it dots on the projector, or is it lots of dots in a wave pattern, which means it's behaving as both at the same time?
Yeah.
And based on what you're observing will determine how it behaves. It's very powerful, double slit experience. Yeah. You know, one of the simplest.
I'm so curious now.
Yeah, one of the simplest fractals for me in nature is a very popular one. And it's the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Because like that whole understanding of you are a, creature with short, stumpy legs, and you're trying to hide from being eaten by, certain things, but you can't fly away from the ground. So you're more susceptible to just being picked off really quickly. Mm-hmm. Mind you, butterflies are delicious to a lot of animals and they can get captured. But anyway, at some point, this creature within its acceptance is that it withdraws from that form and weaves a cocoon to be in the darkness away from everything, to surrender that identity and become a new form with wings and long legs.
Surrender that identity.
Yeah.
Surrender. That is a big word.
It is, because imagine and go, oh, what's happening to me? I'm a caterpillar. I'm losing myself. I'm just a caterpillar and I'm going to become nothing. No, there's an entity that's superior that knows it's not the identity. Identity means you get to use any ideas to shape the form for the experience, which means can you embrace yourself to be so powerful that you are an entity that can move into any form of ideas for the experience.
You choose which butterfly you want to be, essentially.
And practically, what does that look like every day? Someone comes and has a go at your opinion, your view, your idea for something. They have a go at it. They don't like it. How do you react? You see, if you know you are not the ideas, they're just a form for the experience, you're not going to feel attacked.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel like you have to defend it blindly. You can have the presence to want to understand their experience of it and what motivates their experience of it. Then you get to decide what you want to do with it. Oh, you know what? I want to keep that idea because I can see why you don't like it and I don't agree with the reasons why you don't like it. But what happens to us is we have a visceral, primal reaction, almost as if the ideas that shape the form of who we are is actually really us. So how are we going to transform from one form to another when we're too busy defending the form we're in as if that's really us?
Therefore, the surrendering comes in. That's where the surrendering comes in.
Yeah. And so if you can bring yourself to surrender and go, this is where trust and faith, I think, kicks in for us. If I can surrender and let everything go of who I am that can be let go, what would be left I'm going to honor as the entity of me that can keep what matters and reshape into what will matter more. Like, that's some trust there. Because if you believe that you have been designed where if you surrender, you're going to lose all the goodness and the universe is going to laugh at you. He just surrendered being a caterpillar and now he's just a piece of poo. Like that doesn't make, do you know what I mean? It's like, are we going to be tricked in our humility to be letting go of the tension and the attachment to who we think we have to be. Do we think that there's nothing beautiful at the center to release to? That dynamic version of us that can be anything?
To release to.
Yeah. And are we going to insult, if you're religious, God, or, if you're spiritual, universe, or even as an atheist? Like, do you really think that the unseen, spectacular intelligence that brought us into existence and awareness with free will and imagination, that we can surrender and we're going to go into a pile of crap?
Yeah.
Like, none of it makes sense. And so I took a risk. I took a risk because it feels like a risk initially, right? Because you don't know for sure. But, I did put a line in the sand in my life at one point. And the line in the sand was, if the universe is not as loving and abundant and beautiful and spectacular as I feel it is, then I don't care. I'll find out. And if it wants to quash me into nothing because it doesn't give a shit, I don't care. I'm going to pretend, it's not really pretending, I'm just going to give the universe the biggest benefit of the doubt ever. I'm going to assume it's brilliant.
And then you're going to surrender and release to it.
And now I'm a child of a loving existence, not a threatening existence. Very different.
Very different.
And that's why I call it the playground. So you see what I mean?
Do you know how hard that is for a religious person to do?
Yeah, no, to be honest, even all of us, it is hard. And even me, I'm a work in progress with it. So I've released layers of it in conviction, but every now and then I'll find a situation where my brain still operates on the old way, and then I had to draw the line and reset it there. That's why I love being a work in progress, right? So nothing I say to you has ever delivered me to a perfect platform. It's bullshit. I don't subscribe to that nonsense anymore. We're just process. We're just into a process, keep changing form. And our free will is a gift, which means if we get stuck in a form longer because we chose to be stubborn and in denial have been in denial, then we find out later that we were, and we go, oh, damn it, I got stuck there for too long. Whoopee-doo.
Yeah.
Whoopee-doo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of weight off the shoulders, man. Like really accepting all of you.
Yeah, that's another good metaphor. I think a lot of people who are, suffering through breakups and divorces, they all think, who am I now? I used to be the wife, I used to be the husband, now I'm this thing, and not surrendering that identity and seeing what's possible, going forward. It's always dark, for these people when you speak to them. I don't know what's going to happen anymore. I'm going to be alone. Everything's going to die. And then they don't see that beauty that they will morph into a butterfly if they just change their perspective,
Yeah.
There is that possibility.
So what happened to me yesterday is lots of really important events have been leading up for 5 years, and then I got closure on something. And then someone spent a good hour sharing with me how sorry they were for being the way they were for 5 years with me.
Oh, wow.
And they pledged to be like a supernova to me. In other words, they were like a black hole for 5 years, right?
Is it important in the story arc to understand why?
I don't want to give too much respect.
Sure.
But how that links is that for years, I've been loving the fractal of the supernova from the black hole.
Yep.
And it made me go into GoDaddy and check for the domain name supernovaos.com. And I've secured it. Now, remember PMOS, Perception Management Operating System?
Yep.
Well, I'm thinking the brand could be Supernova OS.
Right.
And what that does is the platform for the Pocket Coach, the Collaborator, the music generation. It basically allows you to navigate your black hole challenges in areas of your life where that's happening and turn your light back on and burst into a supernova.
I love it.
For the people that you love. So it's called a supernova. It's like the supernova platform.
I like it.
Supernova OS.
I like it because it reminds you of what the end game is.
Yeah.
That is the end game,
Yeah. And so imagine organizations, this is good from your perspective. Of course, I have to go through a process with my business partner and others with feedback around, is this a good brand in depth and function for it to perform the way it is. But this, my asking you, and listeners, if you give your feedback, I really appreciate it, right? I want to ask you, if you were told by your leadership, hey guys, there's this Supernova OS, and it's an operating system for human alignment, for well-being and productivity. And it's holistic, and it helps people manage their perception, and it helps them leverage AI simulated expert knowledge providers into any problem, so that they're always problem solving in a collaborative and personal agency way. And it's got all this creative stuff in it that gets you immersed in who you're becoming. So you're constantly adapting into new ways of being and enjoying reaching new levels of protecting your well-being and reaching new levels of productivity. Yeah, it's called Supernova OS. Have you heard of it? What impact would that have on you?
I would obviously be interested in it. My honest opinion, I'll be like, okay, is there a trial? Is there a demo?
Yeah.
And then the moment I go into it, you see, not many are like us where I'm not trying to put us on a pedestal, but we are fairly vulnerable people. We address issues. Some people just don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
So the thought of doing that for them is too scary.
What if they found out Supernova, it allows their own profile, it's vaulted, so all their data is completely private to their identity? What if they know that they're being given all these tools,
but they're not tied to an identity?
Yeah,
like a human.
and then they find out that Supernova has a corporate dashboard, but it only shows how many of the organization have had perception shifts and circumstance improvements, and what issues in the organization have been resolved over a timeline. That's the data that the company get. They don't get your data of what you're working on yourself.
So it's more like an avatar. You're in an avatar in there, where you're not tied to a person's name. Your identity is it's like literally an avatar. An avatar that's going through a transformation. Yeah, I think that would. I think I think trial it. Trial it with actual people and see what their feedback is. But yeah, I think that would be the other thing as well. The privacy concern, the fact that they might not. It might need to be instructor-led at the start until they see value. It could be that too. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's that classic case of you just launch with the leaders and early adopters.
Oh, yes. The grassroots sort of movement.
So when the leaders and early adopters start using Supernova OS, people around them are hearing,
"It's changed my life."
Yeah. Oh my gosh, did you? And imagine staff hearing two managers saying, "Oh, that Supernova OS blew my mind last night. I achieved this or I achieved that," or whatever. And they're just talking amongst each other.
Yeah.
Because they're early adopters and they're leaders, and they're tasked with knowing that the ultimate goal for an organization is to create a culture that embraces Supernova OS, where everybody loves working on their perception.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the leaders are the arrowhead.
Yeah.
Early adopters. So then the early adopters are able to select the people around them that are starting to show interest, and they share and they go, you know what, I'm going to give you special,
I like that,
advanced access.
Yeah.
Right. So they give the people that they can see are early adopters.
They will start talking.
Yeah. And then they start using it.
Yeah.
And then eventually they'll go, all right, now we're going to let the next wave of people that are really ready to want to enjoy the power of Supernova. And so you organically roll it out in that way, not a top down, you have to use it.
Pull.
You create the pull. It has to do the heavy lifting because it's a genuine value proposition.
Right.
And like, imagine, oh my gosh, it just produced 2 songs for me. On my way home, I was listening to these songs and it completely made me feel amazing about who I'm becoming in this role or that role. Imagine that kind of talk in the office. What? It created songs about your life. Yeah, that made you feel better and different, all that sort of stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think that's a good idea. I personally, I think the challenge for me, being honest, is how will it provide feedback to me? How would it provide value to me?
Yeah.
Because you hear about all this AI stuff, but then it's like, what's the difference of it being like ChatGPT where I can just prompt it and it'll tell me everything? What's the difference? That's, I guess, the challenge where a lot of people go, what is this? So until you try it, until people start talking about it, that's where the pull will come. So,
Yeah. So the biggest difference really initially is that you AI is very limited to how much it can tailor the content to you. And so when Supernova helps your dynamic profile hyper-personalize AI for your needs in levels of nuanced quality of guidance that resonates more deeply for you, that's very powerful, right? Also, the architecture of process helps you know what to engage next in an order and sequence. So you're just following a process of critical thinking and unpacking of your perception that you wouldn't know how to do. Not everybody knows how to deconstruct their perception, but the system facilitates a deconstruction for you.
right.
It guides you to understand yourself in layers of depth you didn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
And it allows you to do that routinely.
That's very good.
Mm.
So it will. So when you say it's tailored to you, obviously you got to feed it input. And is there like a questionnaire that you have to fill in at the start?
Oh, very minor,
Right.
little bits of questions.
Well, you got to
over
feed it
time.
something. Yeah.
But the moment you do one perception project on it, that expands your profile.
Right.
The moment you do another one, now from then on, it knows 3, 4, 11, 12 perception projects, resistance projects linked to them. It starts to really get you and it starts to give you, and it knows your music preferences. It knows what knowledge experts are your favorite people. It starts to craft its content and its way of communicating because it's starting to really get how you like to be engaged.
Right.
And the brain needs that. The brain needs something to come to help it get to the challenges that are hiding more quickly. But the brain is a gatekeeper. Is this really relevant? Do I like it? Does it make sense to me to trust? So the hyper-personalization earns trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more you engage, the better it gets.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that. We talked about culture, about where we're at in the industrial. in the age that we're in, social media, and people just wanting to feel good. I call it the well-being age. Everyone's talking about well-being.
Yeah.
We have well-being committees, all sorts of stuff happening.
Yeah.
So this will definitely, it's timing, really.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, well-being and productivity are not meant to be diametrically opposed. But the way we've grown, it's like work-life balance. It's like it's turned into a tug of war, isn't it?
You choose one or the other.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
mutually exclusive.
And you're trying to bounce between the two, and then now you're getting burnt out again, and then you back off, and then you feel like you're behind the 8 ball again on productivity and feel guilty, and because you know.
Yeah.
What this system does is it helps you shift your perception constantly so that you are hitting ideas to achieve more for less effort. So what happens is it protects your well-being while making you more productive. It reduces stress, which makes you a better decision maker. It allows you to be more effective, get more job satisfaction without the extra hours that are caused by high stress and work fatigue, because you're becoming less productive and you have to hang in the work more. So well-being is, a huge component of a foundation of sustainable value exchange.
Yep.
The moment the well-being of any one of us is compromised, the productivity is now on a short leash before that well-being collapses, where that person has a breakdown or that person makes a mistake at work and gets injured. Or, do you know what I mean? So you can't focus on productivity without
well-being,
undermining the true sustainability of that productivity through the foundation of well-being. You can't do it. And we've never looked at it holistically like that for forever, until now. I feel like the world is starting to get serious about looking at things holistically,
Yeah.
And therefore, do you remember not long ago, it'd be like, how is reducing stress going to make us more money? How is reducing stress going to make the business better? Why should we spend more money on reducing stress? What, like literally, where is the scientific evidence that people having more confidence and improving their well-being equates to a better bottom line? Where is the science there? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, we had that attitude in leadership, where it's like, I don't believe happy, mentally clear people that feel like they belong improves decision making and compounds those decisions into higher productivity.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I need evidence and proof that it's already happened somewhere enough for me to believe it. It's like, wow.
And then they saw how Google did it, and Google was a big thing.
So from your research with Google, you saw they did it.
Well, everybody did. It was a big hoo-ha. Everyone's saying, oh, they've got the slides, they've got good food, they've got... And I went to Google myself. One of my in-laws works there. Yeah. And no joke, they've got smoked salmon and lobsters, and you're like here. And then they've got breakout rooms. They had music jamming rooms.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
And you're like, what is going on? And then they've got rooms where you can play PlayStation 5 and you can just go whenever you feel like it. And they've got arcades. And I was like, what is this? And everyone's talking about it, And I went back with my findings. Yeah. And, obviously there was a correlation between well-being and productivity that, like you said, it was just demonized,
Yeah, but look, I also know that those optics of extreme recreation and trusting staff that they are trustworthy, that their instincts to do good they'll do the PlayStation, they'll have a little jam music, but they'll take that form of being in a good mood into their work and their gratitude for being trusted into their work.
Yes.
And it gives momentum, right?
Yes.
But you have to top down look at where people are accidentally losing their way and not getting an accountability environment where those toys become distractive to their productivity doesn't matter, right? Because unfortunately, the brain can slide into, I can take without receiving, black hole.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to, it's a work in progress.
I can take without giving.
Yeah. Yeah, I can take without giving because no one's complaining.
Yeah.
And my brain keeps seeing toys everywhere, which means my brain says play. I'm here to play. This is my environment. I'm here. But obviously Google knew that give them the play, but create the balance of we're here to do amazing things. And we're here to care, have a great work ethic, be proud, but we want you to play too. We want you to enjoy your life and know the importance of your well-being. And I would say Google must have got it right enough to allow themselves to continue their uplift and become who they've become. But I'd say if you interviewed them, they'll talk about the wobble there and how they had to learn a lot around, are we going too far one way or the other? And they kept learning through that wobble, consolidating to that middle more and more. And it probably still is a work in progress to this very day.
Yeah, because it's all perception based. It's all based on the individual,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting because one of the reasons why I'm looking at workplace culture. I will not go to a place where well-being isn't a priority. I've made that decision now at 40. I'm not going there. I don't care because well-being, my ability to matter and to provide value is more important now than just getting paid big dollars. Because I can do, like right now what I'm doing with you, I can do this all day and work and have that balance at work as well. It's amazing. Like
it's so good.
Why would I trade this for a place where I have to work 10 times harder, but then I lose myself in
Yeah.
Where, yeah.
And Azlan, look at the difference that makes to you when you're doing something like this that you love. You're leveraging the multi-purpose of it.
Yes.
Around shifting yourself, seeing things differently, going in with more motivation, more conviction.
More empathy towards black holes.
More empathy to black holes.
Man, I treated those black holes like they were the scum of the earth. Right now, I can actually see that there's gonna be something that's gonna be fundamentally shift in me because I didn't know that they could become a supernova.
Yeah, but the other thing is that there's a threat if everybody's shining.
No,
I'm talking about the dilemma for us as humans.
Oh,
yeah, but if I put a lot of effort to make everyone else shine. I'll be dwarfed into a darkness. It's the black hole illusion that everyone shine, you're going to swallow up as if it means nothing. No. Everyone shine when you love it, you celebrate it, you keep feeding more ways for it to shine. That makes you the supernova.
And you receive those compliments.
Well, it's very hard to stop the compliments when these guys are stars and they're shining everywhere, including your direction.
And then you get roped into this pedestal. Well, I mean, from my experience, when you come across as a good leader, people say, Azlan, they're all rallying because of you, and then you suddenly you get high off this drug, like I have to consciously now, after talking to you, I have to consciously go, no.
Well, that's interesting because I think there's a learning for us around how do you balance that reaction so that you're not going too extreme? You're not going, oh no, I'm just a humble black hole.
Yeah. Accepting it gracefully without putting yourself.
Or going, I am a supernova. You should be grateful, because a supernova is not a supernova by entitlement and claiming it is. You see what I mean?
I think the balance there is to validate that what they're saying is aligned to your understanding already, your knowing already that you are a supernova. It's just proof. It's just an external validation of what you internally believe in. That if you treat it like that.
Yeah. And I also think that when you know you matter before you're a supernova.
Yeah, that's right.
Then the supernova is not some bullshit you're trying to attach yourself as an identity to matter.
Yes.
That is huge. I'm glad we had that conversation. You won't get to supernova unless you come home to the truth that you matter and you matter forever.
And you're capable. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I have the same analogy, but it's a bit more crude than yours.
I reckon they're going to like it. They're going to more. Go on.
So my analogy is, I was talking to my wife the other day, One person said to me, Azlan, you're so stingy. And I looked at my wife and I didn't react.
Oh, yeah.
And then I spoke to my wife later. I said, you know why I didn't react? And then she says, why? And I said, okay, imagine I say you've got a penis. Are you going to open your skirt and show them you've got a vagina? And she says, no. I say, why not? And she says, because I know I don't have a penis. And then I went, precisely.
Shit, you just trumped the supernova analogy.
So I mean, the base
I'm a
is
black hole now.
No, I mean, it's not similar. It's really different because supernovas. Anyway,
I love it.
But it centers around knowing.
No, it's
knowing.
a great point. It's like, do you know? Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know?
That you matter.
Because if someone else says water is not wet, are you going to run to the water and splash it and go, no, it is. Look, it's wet.
Yeah.
You don't. You go, okay, that's interesting what your brain is doing to reality.
But I think everyone's path is to figure out, how do you know that you've got a penis or vagina? I'm sorry. But how do you know that, how do you build your foundation to the point where you can
now
go?
I've stuffed up your
now
search.
You stuffed it
now
up.
You're going to go, oh, damn it, that's not to be censored. George, stop using the word censor.
Yeah. But that is the challenge, isn't it? The challenge is for a person to figure out, how do I get to the point where I know that I matter? What is my universal truth? How do I get there? Because honestly, that's a very hard question, especially for a religious person. I mean, they think they're here on a mission to do something, to please someone. Yeah. And then, do you really matter? Is the challenge.
Yeah.
How do you get there?
Yeah. And I think the philosophy around, if something doesn't exist and then some power of will for it to exist brings it into existence. Okay. We can then say that obviously linear time didn't factor because that power of will somehow existed beyond time. It was like it was always there. And it's beyond our brain because we love to think linear. We'd like to think there's a beginning and end.
Yeah.
Right? So then you think, what kind of power that isn't even a servant to time, right, brings into existence the awareness of self, the free will to choose what to do with self, the ideas to dance with, to adopt into a form, to then express through, and then the beautiful physics of opposite equal reaction to the universe then to gift you the realities that come to give you the experience of your form. In other words, if I'm kind, do I find people wanting to be kind back? You know, if I'm overkind, do I find people become self-entitled and take too much and get used to me being overkind? This is all experience, right? That power to give something that existence in that way is the greatest gift we've ever been given. And to start to want to marginalize it and make it as if it's not enough evidence that we matter, well, that's just us experimenting with ungrateful forms, ignorant, ungrateful, disconnected forms.
That's an interesting perspective. My perspective, what made me create that strong foundation was this idea that I'm a creator, that I can leverage the power of the universe to create, and that power is always shining its love on me. Because I used to feel that I had to do certain things to get love from the Almighty, and I was never enough. And so when how I got there was I had to change that belief and go, there's this other thing that is shining its love to me constantly. All I have to do is look. It's like the sun.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is always there, even though it's at night. If you have negative thoughts, if you feel like lousy, the sun is still there. It's still shining. You know, if you're in space, it's always shining. So that's my question then was, how do I always be in space? You know, to get that love from that power.
Yeah.
And to know that power is always there, loving me, knowing that I matter. That's how my mind shifted. But I like your perspective because for you, it's more like that power is giving you all of this, and how can you? Yeah.
But it's giving all of us this.
Yeah, all of us.
And therefore, I don't need to know I matter by being better than anyone.
Yeah.
I actually celebrate the loving equality of the source to say you are all gifted,
all of you,
with the fractal of me made in my image.
Yeah.
I gift you me in you to go forth and expand with your will, your imagination as a collective of what I am.
And when anyone makes that shift that you and I have made in that context, different ideas, but similar, then that's when their foundation starts to take hold, you know?
Yes. And so if my brain complicates that philosophy, then that's my journey to how else do I need to calibrate, align? What ideas are keeping me from that beautiful truth that makes my heart expand when I think and connect to it? And so that's why I'm a work in progress, right? But I just shared with you the philosophy. So because you said, how do you know you matter? It's like, well, your heart knows you matter. Your subconscious complicates it. And I think being human is about how do you go through the maze of that complication into the true you that doesn't complicate your worth, doesn't complicate your belonging, doesn't complicate your nature of being eternal. Because God is not on a budget. The universe is not on a resource budget to quash you into nothing because you got lost in a form that disconnected you from truth and love. You see, if you get disconnected from truth and love, you become a black hole. You take. You might even feel self-entitled. You might even have hate to justify the take, you know? And so you're lost. But guess what? It's hell because you're isolated. Nothing is enough. What kind of punishment is that? It's intrinsic in the experience, isn't it? It's immediate karma. It's immediate blowback. The moment I feel nothing can prove to me that I am something, I am in hell.
Correct.
And therefore, I'm living the hell. And so what? The universe goes, yeah, nah, can we conjure up something worse than hell? Because, you know, I'm bored and I want to punish parts of me that I've conceived into expansion further because, you know, like, why not? like to me, I feel like the punishment is in the attitude already built in.
Yep.
If you've got the wrong attitude, if you believe that you can exist and not matter, then you will misuse your free will and you'll misuse your imagination and use dumb ideas to bury yourself into struggle every day.
Yeah.
But if you then one day say, I'm going to take a risk that I matter. And everybody has to give me compelling logic to prove that I don't. That's a big line in the sand. Flip it around. Make people prove you don't matter. And there's a difference between mattering and whether you're giving value or not. If people think you're not giving value, understanding enough to find ways to be of value the best you can, but also know what's value back to you and let them do the same for you, right? It's a dance of value exchange. But you matter. You're a player. No one can ever take away that you're a player in existence, and that's why you matter. But when we feel rock bottom, when we feel lost, we don't feel like a player. We feel like just so deflated into nothing. We barely can conjure a reason to get out of bed or make an effort towards anything, and we drag ourselves as if, wow, look how lost we can get and disconnected, and our energy just goes away. It's like, do you know why energy goes away? Because bad ideas don't deserve energy.
Interesting.
Bad ideas don't deserve the energy of expression. And when we innately feel we don't matter, that's a bad idea. So we depress. We don't want to press into life with a bad idea we don't matter, that we're not capable. That's a lie. We are flogging the bad idea of a lie. So we depress our energy, get flat. And why do we get flat? Maybe we're supposed to get into the cocoon and go, what form do I need to be out of the caterpillar that thinks it can just crawl and life is as good as it gets at that low level? Can't I fly? Can't I suck on nectar instead of bitter green leaves? Can my life be better? When we depress, we're in that stillness to contemplate, what are the bad ideas that I have withdrawn my energy from? Let me pay attention. Let me observe the form I was in that was robbing me and not making me want to energize it anymore. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
So depression has been stigmatized into, oh, he's depressed, he's down.
Genetics.
Come on, man. Come on. Just get up. Get back into it. You'll be better. It's like, hang on a minute. That person is flat for a reason. They need a quality process into who they want to become before they get off the couch. What can we do to help them see life differently, be different for themselves, so that they can feel like they're not going to go back to the same world that's going to bash them up the same way, and they're going to bash themselves up in the same way. So depression is meant to be a metamorphosis opportunity, not you're broken, you're flawed, there's something wrong with you. Maybe you need drugs just to help you function and be normal.
Let me ask you this then. Is it our responsibility to facilitate that metamorphosis, or do we leave that to the higher power, to the universe, to do it for them, make them realize it themselves?
Yeah, no, I think our job is to invite.
Invite.
Not
only. Be responsible.
Well, you're not responsible. You invite with love. You invite creatively. You're trying to reach them. Talk to their heart. Come up with ideas to make them feel and entertain ideas they haven't before. Hold the energy, the space for them to know they matter in your world as part of your gift to contribute to their metamorphosis. But you're not responsible. In other words, I don't want anyone to grab me and control the way I think to yank me out of my struggle on anything.
Yeah.
That would be very disrespectful. Yep. It's like, you know what I mean? We don't want to surrender our free will to someone else to dictate how we think and what to believe in and how to change and when to change and where to change to. We don't want that, right?
Yeah.
Because then we're not human anymore. We're just a program and someone else is programming us. That wouldn't make sense.
Right. I see how this ties into the pocket coach now, because it invites you.
It's all invitation. It all validates you that this is normal. To be in this version is normal, and this is why you're held into it. But does it serve you? Here are some ideas to help you evaluate whether it serves you.
Do you want to stay here? Yeah.
Do you want to be different with these other ideas of looking at it this way, that way? Does that make more sense to you? It guides you with you are the pilot of your form. And that's the way it should be. Because you are the pilot. You are the player.
Mhm.
You know, and I think a lot of people lecture other people and tell them how they need to be. And that creates a defense mechanism to
Yes,
say,
yes.
you're trying to rob me of my free will. And I categorically cannot do that because I am nothing that matters without my free will.
Yeah, and then they have an allergic reaction to your advice.
Definitely.
But it is the approach, you're right. It is the invitation versus I'm lecturing.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
You can innovate the invitation.
Yeah.
But if they refuse the best you could come up with in that innovation of the invitation, then you have a boundary not to sink thinking you have to keep going into forever. So you can say, I keep doing my best to reach you. I've done this, I've done that because I care about you. I just hope you just lean in and maybe think about the things I've been suggesting because I do love you and I do believe in you and I do care for you and I know you can. But I also get it's hard and I know you have to find your way. But if you want me to come and engage you in any way that you think helps you, I am there for you. That's another invitation, you see, because they're the ones in control. So that's compassion and that's love. And, you know, that's how we can be there for each other. But when that person knows that you're not there anymore, that you respect them to dig deep into themselves and decide to find with their free will that they matter. You see, if people are being distracted by you taking their free will from them, they will never then realize they're not using their free will for themselves. So when you stop distracting them from taking their free will, it doesn't matter that you're not. It matters that they think you are.
Yeah, correct.
All right?
That's the experience.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, then they're left with their rock bottom. And then they might create another rock bottom deeper because we're good at that. But then eventually it'll be like, nothing I've tried has worked. Nothing, right? What is going on? Like, why have I reached this place? Like, what is this? What's wrong with me? What am I being that's got me here? That's the beginning of humility. That's the beginning of curiosity. These are the keys to activating into truth. Humility and curiosity are the only way there. And everything that stops you from your humility and curiosity will keep the form you're in and the punishment it comes with.
Right.
And how do you get to humility and curiosity? When you're finally convinced that nothing outside of you is the answer. Isn't that interesting? Which means if inside of me is the answer,
what am I doing?
Where is it? Where is it hiding? You know, because it's been hiding pretty well. Well, you haven't been looking. It can't hide that well. But if you don't look, it may as well be. It's like the boy look in the pantry. Where's the sauce? Right in front of you. I didn't see it. Where's the sauce? Right in front of you. There. Damn. Like it was right there and I wasn't seeing it. It's because you weren't really looking for the source. You were too invested in the pain of no source existing.
Yes. You got me thinking now about parenting.
Yeah.
Do you then facilitate depression to help them become a supernova? Because, you know, for me, what changed me completely, for me to get to that understanding that nothing outside of me is responsible for me but me, was when my father told me they were going bankrupt. And I had to work as a dishwasher for $10 an hour. During weekends, when all my friends are out partying, they'll come to this restaurant. I'll be cleaning dishes and they'll look at me and go, "Oh, Azlan, hey." And I remember going home one day and I used to blame my father for my predicament. And one day I remember I went home at 7 o'clock. My hands were, you know, when you wash dishes for a long time, your hand just becomes like this. It just gets locked in, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets locked in.
Well, you can't move your fingers anymore. Wow.
He's doing that the whole night.
Yeah.
And so I remember my hands were like this. And then I said, "I forgive you. You know, it's over. I don't want to have you be responsible for me anymore. You know, it's my time to fix myself."
What was it about your hands being stiff, and what was it about that moment that let you say that?
Because on the way home, I was blaming him for my hands.
Yeah.
And I was saying,
but why did you stop blaming him for it?
Well, because I realized at that moment that I had the power. It was in my. I have to stop blaming him for everything. I blame him for the job. I blame him for my hands. I blame him for me coming home at 7 a.m. But I realized that
They were your hands.
Yeah, they were my hands. They were my choices.
You live with those stiff hands. What are you going to do about it?
That's right.
Because if your dad's in charge of your hands, they're going to stay that way.
That's right. And
is that what it was?
That was partially what it was. Yeah. And it was my inability to, that depression caused me to go, you know what, I've stopped. Nobody's going to take control of how I feel or what my thing is. Everything from religion to my work to everything is all me now. This is me. This is all on me now.
I would call that an existential crisis.
There you go.
But a positive one.
Yeah.
Because you went, hang on a minute, I'm existing in the energy of everyone else has to be different for me. Now I decide I have to be different for me.
Yeah.
I will take charge.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
And that made me curious. What am I? Who am I? And so I started going to this Krishna things and reading books on, conversations.
Humility and curiosity kicked in.
Yeah.
And you started to want to absorb the world. You turned on your eyes.
It was the best years of my life. Like that 2 years of learning. What am I? I remember I was so curious, so like a sponge. You read The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle and you're like, what is this? And it all goes in. And I can only imagine if my mom or my father were to say, force their truth on me, this is how you heal through this book. It would have destroyed me, but they didn't. They gave me the wings to fly. So coming back to parenting, I mean, I've seen kids who've had it easy their whole lives and not have this moment where they have to go, who's responsible for me? To facilitate that, that's going to be difficult for a parent like me who tends to want to give everything. I don't want you to do the hard yards. But I think now with your Supernova, at some point they have to be in a controlled environment where they are experiencing that black hole. I don't know if this is the right thing, but for them to come out realizing that, hey, you know what, I matter. Can a parent who gives everything facilitate that emotion in a child, or do they have to go through a black hole? I guess is the question.
All right. Okay. So I just need to understand, right? Are you saying when your child feels pain or discomfort,
which I never allow him to?
There you go. You've answered the question. Why not? Because negativity is evil.
Yeah. Well, this was before this. That was an hour ago.
Yeah. Like I've walked through that door or walking through it.
Yeah.
And we're demonizing negativity is a big issue for us because electricity needs negative and positive. And so we want that current of movement, the power, the joy of movement to go from A to B, from the place I don't want to be to the place I want to be. Why are we denying the electricity of our existence, the energy, the dynamic moving?
Because it hurts from a parent to see a child in negative because
only because in the moment of not succeeding, the pain of you are nothing is the deception. You see, if you know you matter, you have the luxury to learn why you haven't achieved what is important to you yet and enjoy the journey. But if you've hooked that you are nothing without success, without achieving your goals, then the negativity that may exist that keeps you from it is the shame of you not mattering. So you don't want to look there. You need to push forward. And so he's accidentally shaming his son accidentally into not tolerating a moment of uncertainty, of feeling bad about being blocked from things that matter to you. You're accidentally shaming him to say you're not allowed to be in any negative space to build a desire to create a positive journey. You're not allowed. You have to be in positive already and at least sell everyone that you're already there, even while you're sneaking there the quickest way you can.
Yeah.
And you're accidentally doing that. And not because you don't love him, but it's because that's how you've treated yourself and that's how you were taught to treat yourself most of your life. And this is the relay race of our parents and their parents, and they're just passing down the same ideas of how to be. And I was raised in the same environment. It is very similar. And that's why I see parents, they argue in front of their children. Everyone's afraid of being wrong. And so we create that environment where you're not allowed to be wrong. You're not allowed to be negative. You're not allowed to feel weak for a moment and then understand why you feel weak to be able to do something about it.
To become a supernova.
So initially when you framed it to me, it was really interesting because I was trying to understand, why does it sound negative? And it was like, are you saying I need to let my son stay in a black hole?
Should I facilitate it was a question, but I understand that it's not about facilitating. It's about allowing him to feel that way because he will, and stepping back and watching him make the most out of it.
Here's the point. If he's in a black hole, he's already in a black hole. Right? So therefore, what are you going to do about it? Shame him? No.
Yeah. I mean, in the past,
Yeah. No. But the thing is, if he's in a black hole and he feels your love.
I'm the sun shining.
And he's allowed to take and not believe in his moment that he matters or that anything is going to make his life better. He's allowed that gift of free will. I think that is the greatest act of love. When someone decides to believe the biggest lies ever and they're being loved for the permission to hold that space in that moment. Because if you can help someone feel safe in their greatest delusion, it will humble them to be curious, where does that love come from?
I agree with that statement.
That's good. That's nice.
Yeah, I've got a few things to learn when it comes to parenting.
Are you saying you're not perfect?
I'm a work in progress, being a work in progress.
Exactly.
It is something I'm learning. Yeah, I grew up not like, don't worry, we'll get you this, we'll get you that. I never really remembered a time where I struggled at all or was allowed to feel bad. Like, I just want to read to you a text my mother sent me.
Yeah.
I was joking about this leadership course and I said, look, I don't even know what's happening. I'm talking to all sorts of senior people, just jokingly, you know. And she messaged me, don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So negativity has never been something that
has been embraced as a part of a process.
That's right.
And I think our global culture's like that, Azlan. Like, we generally are afraid of negativity. That's why positivity became the beating chest of success. It's like, be positive, never be negative, right?
Yeah.
Now, remember we talked about extremes? This is just an extreme because toxic positivity is when you think everything has to be all good. Toxic negativity is when you have to believe everything has to be all bad.
Damn. It's a balance, isn't it? Oh, man.
That old chestnut.
That old chestnut of balance. But yeah, no. It's funny how we came full circle. I managed to talk about all the stuff that I wanted to talk about, which related to what you were talking about. And then it's just come one full circle.
Back to, we're just works in progress.
That's right.
Trying to navigate out of extremes and into our flow of what next form to be. And that we're allowed to bumble through it. We're allowed to get stuck in parts with our denial, our stubbornness.
And embracing it.
Our denial of our denial. And being human is messy. It is so messy and yet so beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful note to end on. Huh?
All right, then. With that, everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We've gone for 2 hours now, so that's amazing. But yeah, George, you want to say anything?
No, just ciao for now. Thank you for coming on a journey with our bantering. Thank you for joining the Reinvent You Show.
And remember, don't take yourself or life too seriously.